Hey, folks! I told you as soon as I got a hold of it, and thanks to a viewer that was on, I was swiping away a mosquito. A viewer sent it over, and then people started messaging me. So I woke up. It's 2:48 a.m. where I am. Now, this is the complete ex parte transcript. Now, I will read this with the caveat that I do not trust Judge Glanville. I do not trust him at all. Now, will he make that mistake that he will actually alter in this? I hope not. I hope that he at least has a scintilla of integrity left in him. And but I will read it with that in mind, that I do not trust Judge Glanville to not do anything in his power to save himself. So, yeah, there's no... first of all, big shout out to the defense team in the Young Thug trial. Without them zealously advocating for their clients, day in, day out, week in, week out, month after month, advocating for their clients, this would never have happened. What's happening now with Judge Glanville? So I have my coffee in my trusted mug that you can find on my merch store. Because it's 3 a.m. here and this takes coffee. So here it is. Here it is. This is a cold reading. I only checked it for its validity, and it is the actual ex parte hearing. It's 56 pages, so that, for me, sounds too little for that amount of hours spent there. But, yeah. Yes, Rachel, shout out to Shaw, to Steele, to Weinstein, and all the other defense attorneys. I have reached out to Doug Weinstein in hope, because I'm visiting Atlanta in August, in hope to have a meeting. But I will not keep you in suspense any longer. Let's see, should I? A little bit bigger. In Superior Court of Fulton County, State of Georgia versus Marcavius Huey, DeMonte Kendrick, Comerius Nichols, Redelius Ryan, Shannon Stillwell, Jeffrey Williams, defendants. Case number 22 SC 183572. Transcript of the ex parte hearing in the chambers of Ural D. Glanville on June 10th, 2024. Christina Weaver, that's the court reporter. Appearance of counsel. On behalf of the state, Adrian Love, Simone Hilton, assistant district attorneys. Yeah, we keep forgetting that this is a Fannie Willis case. She has just left it to Ms. Love and Ms. Hilton to prosecute this. This is Fannie Willis case. On behalf of Kenneth Copeland, Kayla Bumpus, attorney at law. Which is not, well, these are just parties of the state. It does not include the court reporter, Judge Glanville, apparently. It's just appearance of counsel. The ex parte hearing began at 9:10 a.m. Present in chambers was George Glanville, Assistant District Attorney Adrian Love, and Attorney Kayla Bumpus, Court Reporter Christina Weaver, and investigators Antonio Long and Rashid Hamilton. Hamilton, by the way, is the investigator who tried to get one of the witnesses out on a date. Good to know. The court reporter, okay, I'm ready when you are. Miss Love, thank you. The concern that we wanted to bring to the court's attention as the state was twofold. One, we wanted to have the opportunity to impress upon Mr. Copeland with representation present that he faces, and we wanted to give him opportunity to ask whatever questions he wanted to ask before he was we had to pull him in the courtroom when the jury came out. The second concern that I have is, and I wanted to bring to the court's attention in line with the concern that I expressed on the record on Friday, I don't know what advice counsel may have offered or may be offering. That is their right and their business. I will bring forward the super chats, the questions, and the gifted memberships at a natural break in this, because I don't want to interrupt my flow. So why is Mr. Copeland not mentioned as present? I don't know. As it relates to testifying, however, I do not believe that criminal exposure is a concern that is, which interest is being spoken about and protected. Mr. Melnick relayed to Ms. Hilton on Friday that he had never heard of the statute 24-5-507. And on Friday, he sent an email. I don't know if he intentionally copied Mr. Steele and Mr. Shard. I don't know if he unintentionally put my name on it. But he sent an email to Mr. Steele and Mr. Shard with me and Simone copied, where he said, "This is the communication that I received from Ms. Love regarding Mr. Copeland." That was intentional. My response was, whose interests are you protecting? Yours or Mr. Steele's? Whose clients? Which clients are you protecting? Whose client? Yours or Mr. Steele and Mr. Shard's? He wrote back and said, quote, "You are going to get him killed. You have made him. You are making him a target. F you," is what he wrote in the email. Yeah. I kind of agree with Mr. Copeland's attorney. This is intentional from the prosecution, in my opinion. So given that his concern is that by testifying, at least the one that he conveyed to me in writing, it's not. His concern has nothing to do with exposure from the state. And if his concern, the court, his being whose concern? Ms. Love, Mr. Melnick. If the interest that he is protecting is Mr. Copeland's freedom, he did not convey it by asking us what exposure does he face in testifying. In fact, if he's concerned that testifying will get Mr. Copeland killed, and he's not communicating with us, he's communicating with counsel for defendants, it will seem that he knows a thing or something that we don't know. Additionally, and I will let Ms. Bumpus tell you, he has said if Mr. Copeland testifies, he's no longer representing Mr. Copeland. That's strange. I must agree, that's really strange from Mr. Copeland's, Mr. Melnick. That is really strange, I must admit. Which is strange because if your interest is your client, then it would seem you would want to be there for him while he is testifying. The court. Well, he's on vacation this week, Miss Love. I understand. That is why he has Miss Bumpus here. And he has said that he has said what he has said. And as I was reading the statute, the thing that is, and I was reading the statute about this particular situation, and I was reading our rules, our ethic rules, rules of conduct for attorneys. That's a bit harsh, Miss Love. Going by the ethics, yeah, you don't. I mean, she should know all the ethic rules because she breaks all of them. And it's clear that if an attorney, there is two things that were happening. One, Mr. Melnick has told me that he wasn't Mr. Copeland's lawyer. No, that's misrepresentation. This is about when you talk lawyer to lawyer, you can indicate things, you can, because as you see up here, he said that if Mr. Copeland testifies, he's no longer representing Mr. Copeland. That's not in quotes. That is her interpretation. And we know that Miss Love interprets things like the devil reads the Bible. Coincidentally. And it's clear that if an attorney, there's two things that were happening. One, Mr. Manick had told me that he wasn't Mr. Copeland's lawyer. Mr. Copeland has told Miss Hilton that Mr. Manick wasn't representing him. And then rather than Mr. Copeland reaching out to Mr. Manick apparently was in communication with Mr. Steele and Mr. Shaw. And Mr. Manick reaches out to Mr. Copeland and injects himself in these proceedings. What we were discussing was in no way a matter that Mr. Manick was representing Mr. Copeland on, and that is where we are not allowed to speak with a person when they are represented by counsel. Mr. Manick could not have been representing Mr. Copeland on anything we were talking about, because we're talking about this case and this trial. Here, Miss Love is lying. The summer before the trial started, Mr. Manick told the prosecution he was representing Mr. Copeland. That has not changed. As far as the prosecution knew, Mr. Copeland had representation. The only reason why Ms. Love says he didn't have it was because they, despite knowing the last time they had interactions with Mr. Copeland, he had representation. That means they have to contact Mr. Copeland first before, no, Mr. Manick first before Mr. Copeland. And they chose not to. So it's very hard for Ms. Love here to represent to the court something else. All that aside, we would like an opportunity for the court to address Mr. Copeland, and with Mr. Copeland's stand-in counsel present, Ms. Bumpus is looking at me like, Ms. Bumpus, I'm listening. With the standing counsel present. Here she contradicts herself. She can't both say Mr. Copeland does not have representation and then argue that Ms. Bumpus is his stand-in. This is very counter... This is Ms. Love, as per usual, flipping the hand depending on what point she wants to make. Ms. Love, with the standing counsel present and to allow Ms. Bumpus an opportunity to explain to Mr. Copeland everything that I have just said. Her concern outside was what is the longest he can stay in jail. What I relay to her is the statute says until he purges the court by testifying. Ms. Love, his contempt by testifying. The court, 507 is a little bit different. So, I mean, Ms. Bumpus, so until the end of this? The court, he can be here until the end of the trial. Ms. Bumpus, that is what I said, to the end of trial if it's the longest. Ms. Love, no, it's not the longest. Even after a grand jury, if a person has been subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury, and even after the grand jury has, convened, has left, that person can stay until that person purges himself of contempt by testifying. The statute literally says that. Ms. Bumpus, well, I'm going to look it up because it was my understanding that it was until the end of trial. Ms. Love, nope. Here it is. Literally the word of the statute. And so the court, he could be in there a while. Let's put it that way. Either way, Ms. Bumpus, I just want to be able to give him, and then Judge Glanville interrupts her because Judge Glanville will always be Judge Glanville. I know. It's kind of the statute says, you know, that you purge, but I can't keep him in there indefinitely. I've got to kind of, Miss Bumpus, right. That is all I want to know. The court, the whole thing is that he can. He has the keys to his own freedom, and that freedom is if he just gives his testimony, then he's purged it. Miss Bumpus, right. Miss Love, and, whatever that testimony is, we know what we believe it to be, but, we don't know what it is. We can't talk about it. We don't, we don't know what he's going to say. We have an idea. We know what he's told us. Miss Bumpus, yep. Miss Love, and our concern is that I know the court said essentially, you intimated that Mr. Manick probably told him essentially, you should testify. They're not going to. Miss Love can't argue that because whatever interactions Mr. Melnick had with his client. Yeah, that's improper. But what we overheard being said was, quote, "They are going to hammer you," end quote, as if we're going to expose Kenneth Copeland to Miss Bumpus. You heard that? Miss Love, yes, yeah, Mr. Melnick told Mr. Copeland we're going to hammer him. The court. Now, to be fair, and I think Miss Bumpus, as an advocate, or anybody has got to tell him he's going to face some pretty significant cross-examination. Miss Bumpus, yeah, I think that's what he meant. The court, I mean, he's got about 10. Miss Love, so he meant the defense is going to hammer him. Miss Bumpus, no, just in general, he's going to be. It's not going to be hey, da-da-da-da-da. Miss Love, he knew that. He had already been expressing that. The court, but I mean, I think that if he's concerned about that, well, but it's all in the message and the packaging in terms of, I think Mr. Copeland is, a savvy person. But, he's certainly going to be subject to a thorough and sifting cross-examination. Miss Love. And the other thing is that, Miss Bumpus, can I just say something in Attorney Melnick's defense in response, just for the record? Miss Love, yes. Miss Love, you don't get to decide that. That's the judge. Miss Bumpus, the reason that he doesn't want to move forward with the representation, what I've been told, if he decides to testify, is that he doesn't feel like he doesn't know what was said outside of his presence. So he doesn't feel like he can adequately represent him or counsel him because he doesn't know what was told to the state when he wasn't there. Now we are getting into why Mr. Melnick is having a hard time representing Mr. Copeland. Because the prosecution contacted Copeland without Mr. Melnick knowing, which is a violation from the prosecution. Miss Love, but the thing is that the only thing that he should be concerned about is the criminal exposure, or the exposure that Kenneth Copeland has criminally, and there is nothing. There's literally nothing. The statute is quite clear that we can do to him about. The only thing that will put him in harm's way is a lie and a refusal to testify after being ordered to do so by the court. This goes to the absolutely ridiculous, but apparently very legal thing that a piece of paper saying you are immune for prosecution in this county or state annihilates the Fifth Amendment. Before this trial, I had no idea this was a thing, and it was even upheld, which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous, because you can only grant at best state immunity. You can never offer federal immunity, and still you annihilate the Mr. Copeland's Fifth Amendment rights. If he says something on the stand that the feds says, oh, we can prosecute for that, then he's effed. And by lie, we don't mean like, oh, I think you're lying. It would have to be, something obvious, because we can always impeach. But if he literally perjures himself, that's something different. We can't help that. We can't control that. We will only say, tell the truth. I don't care how bad it is, just tell the truth. So, like he says, I didn't go down to the police station, the court. And I think part of his challenge, Miss Bumpus, may be that you need to assure him, quote, look, I'm going to be here. And if you think that they are asking you a question, end quote, they being the state or the defense, quote, is asking you a question that's going to bring out other crimes, end quote, that is going to be able to look to you and say, can I have a chance to talk to you? Miss Love, that's exactly right. Miss Bumpus, Miss Love, see, but that's just it. Miss Bumpus, no, he's not. Miss Love, hold on. That's just it, Judge. The problem is that there's been an assertion that people are representing, and I'm not talking about you, Miss Bumpus. Yeah, Miss Love, There's been an assertion that people are representing that their biggest concern is his best interest, and then they are just not here. Ms. Bumpus is saying she's not in a position to do that. Ms. Bumpus, no, I'm not saying I'm not in a position. I'm saying the agreement between Mr. Copeland and Melnick, who I'm standing in for, is that if he chooses to testify, I'm to get him to sign this paper that says that then discharges Melnick as his rep. That's their agreement. I can't do nothing about that. Ms. Love, that sounds weird. That does not sound like something in Mr. Copeland's best interest. As you would know, Ms. Love. That sounds like protecting somebody else's best interest. Quote, if you talk, I'm not going to represent you, end quote. I don't even know what to do with that. Ms. Bumpus, well, he said he does not know what was said. Ms. Love, it doesn't matter what he said. Ms. Bumpus, right. Ms. Love, it doesn't matter. And he didn't ask us. He didn't even inquire. What have you all talked about? He doesn't have to. All he has to do is have the knowledge of the prosecution going to his client without him present. Then them knowing last time they talked, he had representation. And in fact, when Mr. Copeland asked to speak with us, Mr. Melnick bodies in and gets between Miss Hilton and Mr. Copeland and literally keeps us from talking to him before he gets called to the stand. And that's troubling. No, it's not. That is Mr. Melnick protecting his client. Miss Bumpus, well, I think what happened was, and I say this because I previously represented Mr. Copeland previously on his other stuff. Okay, you to know that she actually have represented Mr. Copeland before. So I know this is just what I think happened. I think how Attorney Melnick came involved was his representation of other, because he took my place. Copeland fired me and hired Melnick, and then this came about. And I think so at the beginning, Melnick was representing him, and then Ms. Love, in his criminal matter that he had, but that's resolved. Ms. Bumpus, but when this case started, Melnick called me and told me that he was representing him as a witness at the beginning. I can assert that. Ms. Love, Melnick has never in life. Jesus Christ. I'm going to do more about how evil Ms. Love is with the Shane Kendall case. I have done a few videos and streams about it. Go check it out, and you understand why I absolutely loathe Attorney Love. Miss Bumpus, this is 2 years ago. Ms. Love, Melnick didn't. As a matter of fact, less than 2 years ago when Copeland was sitting in jail for something else he had done, Melnick said, quote, I don't represent him. He told me, quote, I don't represent him. That's your words, Miss Love, and those are worthless, in my opinion. Completely worthless. And why do I say that? Because we have all seen you lie to the court without flinching. Miss Love lies. We know that. We've seen it happen, folks. We saw it happen in this trial, in the Young Thug trial. Miss Love lying to the court's face and getting away with it. So what she's saying here, I don't care, because she's a liar. And people were in the room. He was on speaker. He told me he didn't represent him. Now, he ultimately did come about and represent him. But when we are trying to get, I guess, Miss Bumpus something, yeah, Miss Love, Copeland was like, he's not my lawyer. I don't have a lawyer. He's not my lawyer. And then Miss Bumpus, are you talking about recently? Miss Love, so recently Copeland said that Melnick was not his lawyer. In order for you to know that, you have to bypass his latest representation and go directly to Mr. Copeland, which is an ethical violation. Right, Miss Bumpus, right. Miss Love, when Copeland was in jail, Melnick told me he wasn't his lawyer, but our understanding was that Melnick was his lawyer for those criminal charges. And so the person that came in and argued, or at least stood in for him on his bond and then on his subsequent plea, was Melnick. But I don't know whose interest he would be representing when he's not talking to us about what we've spoken to Copeland about. That's completely beside the point. This is Miss Love over and over again asserting she doesn't care, in my opinion. She knows, again, she knows the last time they spoke to Mr. Copeland, he had representation. The only reason she claims he doesn't have it is because she violated the ethic rules and contacted a person directly without contacting his latest representation first. But I don't know whose interest he would be representing when he's not talking to us about what we've spoken to Copeland about. He could ask us and we would tell him. I doubt it. So I don't know why he would withdraw his representation of him. If his interest is Kenneth Copeland, then why would you pull out the quote? That doesn't make sense. Ms. Love, at the point where he would face the most peril, if that is his concern. If his concern is, quote, I don't know what they talked about, so I don't know that, end quote. The quote, and I thought that Miss Hilton had a list of questions for Mr. Copeland anyway. Ms. Love, she did. The quote, well, how come you all can't? Miss Love, he didn't ask to see those. He didn't, and not only that. The quote, well, can't you all share that with Miss Bumpus? Miss Love, well, Miss Hilton has already shared it with Mr. Copeland, and we certainly will share it generally speaking. Miss Bumpus, can I read this email that Melnick sent me? I don't know if this will help you understand what he's saying. It says, hey, Kayla, I wasn't able to see Kenneth today. He went on Saturday and tried to talk to him before his flight. But I talked to his family. So at first, Kenneth was going to testify, but has now decided to take the fifth. Boom. This is the point where the judge knows and the prosecution knows, because Mr. Copeland's representation says to them he's going to plead the fifth. Now I assume the coercion starts. And this is why this ex parte meeting should have been stopped at this point, and all the defense attorneys been made aware. They should have been made aware of this the moment the state asked for it. But this is the cutoff moment. This is the point of no return for Judge Glanville. This is where he decides that due process is something he pisses on a regular basis. He may change his mind on Monday. If he does, then he's agreed to discharge me as his attorney. This isn't out of bad feelings, but I was not present when he met with the DA's office, so I can't really help him with his testimony. And then he gave me the discharge and told me that if he decides to testify, then he's to sign this. Miss Love. And that's just it. And it's like you never know what somebody is going to ask. And if he's concerned about putting him in legal jeopardy, then it would seem like he would remain and allow Mr. Copeland access to counsel when Mr. Copeland is concerned that he is about to walk into an area that puts him in legal jeopardy. Miss Bumpus, you can't switch how he gets called? Miss Love, see, that's not in Mr. Copeland's best interest. How the F would you know? You don't care. Miss Love, you don't care. You don't give two shits on a straw about Mr. Copeland's interest. You are not his attorney. You're a prosecutor that has subpoenaed this guy to testify. You don't care about Mr. Copeland's best interest, Miss Love. That's in the defendant's best interest. When you say switch in how he gets called, what does that have to do with anything? Miss Bumpus, I don't know. Maybe he's saying he can't do it because he can't get his refundable ticket. Miss Love, that is not what he said in that email to you, and that is not what he relayed to court. And his concern has nothing to do with the court. He was very much. Miss Bumpus, I tried to go back and watch as much as I could. The court, tell me what he was, that he was going on vacation. Well, he really didn't. He only said that he had non-refundable tickets. And I said, well, you inserted yourself in this. I said, really, you need to come on Monday. Miss Love, so isn't that weird that the state prolongs this case so long. And by sheer coincidence, they choose to call Mr. Copeland at the exact moment they know Mr. Melnick is going on vacation. Isn't that a weird coincidence? Yeah, George Glanville is a participant. He's a witness to this. And he knew this all along. Miss Love, so you can force Mr. Copeland to discharge him just because Mr. Copeland decides to testify. The court, I think you're in until it's done. I mean, Miss Bumpus. Who, me? The court, yeah, I mean, that's just, if he testifies, you got kind of, Miss Love, and frankly, Your Honor, I know that if a person faces criminal contempt, they are entitled to representation if they want it, this being a civil contempt matter. Well, the civil contempt matter is against Mr. Copeland. But now they are talking about criminal contempt. And this shows me that neither the judge nor the prosecution actually knows the difference, because they are using both as they please, which you can't do. The court, not necessarily. Anybody who's facing contempt can get counsel. I mean, not anybody, but Miss Bumpus, I can't stay. How long is this going to take? Miss Love, it might take some days. Miss Bumpus, Miss Love, and see, that's just it. And I think Miss Bumpus is put in a precarious position. She's not the one that stood up and injected herself into this. Again, this is Miss Love. In my opinion, she's misrepresenting everything all the time. We've seen it in court. We see it here. She's gaslighting everybody by just word vomiting things. The only body she did wrong by contacting Mr. Copeland instead of contacting the last representation he had. And she did that knowingly, in my opinion. They reached out to her, she did him a favor. But ultimately, it seems that if Mr. Melnick is stalling and attempting to delay and hamper and hinder our proceedings, that's harsh from Miss Love. And that is a problem, because that has nothing to do with the best interests of Kenneth Copeland. You don't care about Mr. Copeland, Miss Love. You never did. And that has nothing to do with Kenneth Copeland's exposure if he testifies. Just to answer the question about what he is exposed to, the statute is very, very clear. It literally says that no testimony or any evidence required under the court's order or any information directly or indirectly derived from such testimony or evidence shall be used against the person in any proceeding or prosecution for a crime or offense concerning which he testified or produces evidence under the court order. That might be what the local statute says, but it doesn't. It's not, you're now immune to everything under in God's green earth. No, this only applies first in this county, second, the state of Georgia. Never on a federal level. They can't do that. That is saying, even if he got on the stand and said, the court, he started talking about an unrelated crime, which is what the biggest thing I think he's probably thinking about is that, there's a lot of stuff they could ask me about, Miss Love. Right. That is not known to a lot of people, and that, he could also invoke his Fifth Amendment with the advice of counsel if it was some other particular crime. But, Miss Love, but even that, he wouldn't, even the court, even that he still have to testify. Here comes the coercion. Miss Love literally like the saw lays. The law says it must mean. The court, anything he testifies to, Miss Love, we do this. Okay, then about the delay or stall, isn't it true or is it not true that he had a leave filed since December? Miss Love, we have nothing to do with any of that. He injected himself into this. No. This is Miss Love gaslighting again. She contacted Mr. Copeland directly, not his last known counsel. And now she claims, but we only talked to Mr. Copeland, and then his lawyer interjected himself. That is so unethical. The court, see, the problem is, Miss Love, he stepped in. The court, that when you get involved, I don't know you have a leave. Ms. Love, right, you, the court, and unless you file that leave into this case, you don't have a leave for my case. Ms. Love, right. Ms. Bumpus, okay. Ms. Love, and he did not. The court, so he didn't have one. Ms. Love, Mr. Copeland's been a witness and a name on this witness list since the court. So since he said, well, I represent him, I'm like, okay, well, you don't have a leave that. That's filed in our case. Ms. Bumpus, okay. Ms. Love, so he did this to himself and he did it to you. But we have to, that is just where it is. And I don't know that. That's just where we are. Now, Mr. Glanville is gaslighting. He knows what Miss Love did. He knows. He knows Miss Love contacted Mr. Copeland directly, not his last known counsel. So, Judge, are you going to make me stay if he chooses to testify? The court, I am, because you're his lawyer. You're his lawyer. You're a stand-in lawyer at this point, Miss Bumpus. Your Honor, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not ready. If, Miss Love, if the court, there's nothing for you to be ready about. I mean, here's the thing. I think the only thing you got to kind of ask him about is, look, here's the questions the state is going to ask you. All right. Is there anything else that could hurt you that they might ask you about? As long as you have knowledge of that, then I think you are fine, because the state's only going to get into this. Isn't it weird how Judge Glanville always seemed to know where the state is going? He should be the mediator, the gatekeeper. Apparently, he knows exactly what the state is going. Isn't that weird? Isn't it a big coincidence that what Judge Glanville just did here is exactly what I've been saying for months, that Judge Glanville is a part of the prosecution's team. And this shows it. This absolutely shows it. Now, the reason you want to know what's going to hurt you is the defendants know more about Kenneth Copeland than anybody else. So they are probably going to kind of, Miss Bumpus, what about if I say I can't do it? Then Melnick needs to come back, right? Am I going to be in trouble? Because I was only for Monday. That's what I was told. I was given specific. Miss Love, if Copeland said, I don't know what Mr. Copeland wants, it's his choice. Miss Bumpus, can't he say he doesn't want Melnick? Miss Love, he can say whatever he wants. It's his choice. Now the judge and the prosecution is coercing against Miss Bumpus. Miss Bumpus, but the judge is saying, Miss Love, I don't think he can be forced to have representation if he doesn't need or say he wants it. Because we have offered, we have done everything to clear him of judicial exposure. There's nothing he can say, he could lie. That puts him in, the court, peril. Miss Love, peril. But, he can't talk about a crime that we could then prosecute him for. The court, that is involving this or some other place. Miss Love, right. Miss Bumpus, I understand that, but, Miss Love, and we can't use his testimony to go find evidence to prosecute him for the stuff he talks about. No, but the feds can. Because he's literally shielded against local state crimes, not federal crimes. Miss Bumpus, I would have to agree with you that I don't think that's the concern. Isn't that what you said? Miss Love, well, the court said that, Miss Bumpus. No, I'm saying with Mr. Copeland not testifying. You said you don't think that's his concern is criminal exposure, or do you think that is what he's worried about? The court, do you think that he's fearful of testifying for other reason, like for his personal safety? Miss Bumpus, right. Miss Love, that is what Mr. Melnick said to me in an email I can pull up. He said, Miss Bumpus, but you don't believe that. Miss Love, quote, you're going to get getting killed. That's what he said. We ain't going to kill him. Miss Bumpus, see, I don't know anything about that email. Miss Love, we ain't going to kill him. I can show you the email, but we're not going to kill Kenneth Copeland. So who is he talking about? So what are you trying to do? The court, that is a collateral second and third order effect. Let's pray it doesn't happen, but This is starting to piss me off to no end. Because we've seen Mr. Copeland, he's not afraid of anything. Now, his lawyer might be afraid on his behalf, but Mr. Copeland himself, hell no. And this is something the prosecution has tried to get into this trial for months as well. Oh, the witnesses are so fearful of the YSL. No. Nothing has ever happened to one of the witnesses in this trial. And apparently, everybody knows everybody snitches in Atlanta. Who knew? It's almost as if YSL is not a criminal gang. Almost. Ms. Love, I mean, obviously the court, first he has to give his testimony though. I mean, that's what he has to do. He's got to give the testimony, whatever it is. Good, bad, or indifferent. Good, bad, or indifferent, I should say. Ms. Love, so we would like, with the court's permission, they haven't brought him over, and he was supposed to be the first one up. So I guess they went to get him. They might be over here with him now. The court, is he here now? Ms. Love, I don't know. Judge Glanville exited chambers 9:33 a.m. Ms. Love, we would like to just go into another courtroom and talk to him, give you a chance to talk to him, and then give you an opportunity to explain to him. The court reporter, we're off the record. Brief recess. Judge Glanville and Mr. Chamberlain enters chambers at 9:34 a.m. Who the frick is Mr. Chamberlain? Who the fuck is Mr. Chamberlain? And what does he have to do with this? Anybody know in chat? Who is Mr. Chamberlain? I have no idea who that is. Why is Judge Glanville going for Mr. Chamberlain? Is that one of the court guards, security? I have no idea. And yeah, off the record means they're not writing it down. We don't know what was said there. You can say a lot of bad stuff in 1 minute. Court deputies. Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is why I love my chat. If I don't know something, I turn to you, and within 30 seconds, boom, there's the information. You're so amazing. Sometimes I'm just a catalyst between the information and your knowledge. I'm just a catalyst. A bit of interpretation, a bit of legal knowledge. Sometimes you guys are running this show. All right. They are entering chambers. Miss Love, Miss Hilton has been communicating with him. I'd like to grab her from downstairs and have her come up. The court, where is Mr. Copeland? Mr. Chamberlain, they took him upstairs to the tank in 9. Okay, can we bring him out to, Mr. Chamberlain, your chambers is being used. I mean, your courtroom is being used. The court, let's bring him in here. Snivels, whatever is in this transcript, I believe it was 1,000 times worse in reality. Yeah, we're just reading the words. We have no idea knowing the tone, the mannerisms, were they hunched over? We don't know. We only have the words and the knowledge that Judge Glanville is a corrupt son of a bitch and Miss Love is a Satan's prostitute. Let's bring him in here. Okay, thank you. We'll just bring him in here. The proceedings stood in recess from 9:34 a.m. to 10:03 a.m. That is half an hour where everybody involved could have told the defense, and they chose not to. Mr. Copeland entered chambers at 10:03 a.m. Also present was Judge Glanville, ADA Hilton, Kayla Bumpus, Christina Weaver, investigators Anthony Long, Rashid Hamilton, and Deputy Houston, Deputy McPherson, Sergeant Brown, and Sergeant Hall with the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. The court, okay, Mr. Copeland, can you let him know I got a hearing problem? Miss Bumpus, okay, he said he is hard of hearing. The court, that makes two of us. I got a hearing aid that's coming on the 27th of June. So try to talk loud. Is it okay if I... Okay, so Judge Glanville has hearing problems. Chamberlain is with the district attorney's scheduling. Okay. I will start that one. That's a good question. I will get to, in a more natural stopping point, I will get to questions and stuff like that. If you really, really want to have something said out loud, have a super chat. If you can, for $2 you can say a lot of stuff. Mr. Copeland, yeah, I can read lips. The court, okay, good, Mr. Copeland, good morning. Mr. Copeland, good morning. Somehow, no, I won't go there. The court, all right, I just wanted to bring you over and let you talk with Miss Bumpus and see if there's anything that you need to ask of your counsel or Miss Hilton or the state or the court before we bring you out this morning, because we would like to hear your testimony. And that's kind of where we are at this point. We would like to hear your testimony. The judge wants to hear his testimony without the defense knowing about it. Yeah, this would be one of the things he would have redacted. I'm quite sure of it. Jesus Christ, Judge Glanville, don't you have... Mass State Police have removed Trooper Proctor from duty. Ha! Pervert Trooper Proctor should be in prison, in my opinion. That is for the Karen Reed case, by the way. So is there anything you want to ask, Mr. Copeland? Well, I want to speak to you personally that I have never been truthful a day in my life until I just made this statement right now. Yeah, that's Woody. That's Woody. Yeah, we know that Woody was in there. I don't comprehend none of this stuff that's going on. The court, okay. When the only thing you can give is truthful testimony, whatever you know is whatever you know. That's it. And here's the thing. The ethic rules says you cannot put a person on the stand who you know will be lying. This is the state's own witness, which they are impeaching with these absolute bogus police interviews. They knew. This is them opening their own door. We went through this in one of my prior streams a couple of weeks ago. The state cannot open their own door. And here it's on paper. It's written down on paper. The state knew he's lying about everything. You can't open your own door. By putting him on the stand, knowing he is a liar, you're opening your own door. That's not how things work. Miss Hilton, and what we'll say, and Mr. Copeland and I, we have talked about this. I'm not sure what your concerns are, what concerns that you expressed to Mr. Manick last week, but if any of your concerns deal with being locked up for anything, you can't. That there's nothing that can happen. The feds, is she going to reference any federal thing here? Folks, this is cold reading. I have not read this. You find out as I find out. Miss Bumpus, well, that's not. Miss Hilton, it is true. Miss Bumpus, no, I said that's not his concern. Miss Hilton, if his concern is safety, we need to know that. Like, that's not expressed, so we don't know what the concern is, so that we can try to resolve the concern. This is what I'm saying. Mr. Copeland and I have had conversations before. Of course you have. I understand some of his concern is potentially criminal liability, hence why we gave you immunity. The federal statute of limitations, done. The state statute of limitations, done. You can't say that, Miss Hilton. You can't say that. You don't have the authority to speak for the feds. You can't say this. Miss Hilton, what? No. Why do I say this? The federal statute of limitations, done, as Miss Hilton says here. She can't assert that. Why? Because the feds can bring their own RICO. And then, as they do in this trial, the Donovan Thomas murder has no statute of limitations. That brings in all other charges. Failure of candor and in front of the judge. Yeah. This is crazy. So there is nothing, like I researched it this weekend again, both those statute of limitations for what you and I talked about, which is in 2015 or before, done. You cannot be prosecuted for anything you testify federally or statewide, immune, period. You cannot assert this, Miss Hilton. You don't have any authority to state this as facts. Only the feds can do that, and they are not there. Oh. So if that is the concern, there is none, because you cannot be prosecuted. This is what they, in court, when they said that Miss Hilton gave him immunity. This is what they are talking about. So even if it's not spelled out, as in Miss Hilton claiming, I will give you immunity, she's claiming this as a fact to Mr. Copeland that he has immunity to any crime, federal or statewide. And she can't make that assumption because she is not a federal, this is not federal court. The federal statute of limitation is 5 years. So anything in 2015, 5 years would have been in 2020. Anything statewide is 4 years. It would have been 2019. Finished. Yeah, I know this is not a federal case, but nothing says the feds can't open up a federal case if they believe they have the evidence for it. And this also goes to why I say that everything boils down to the Donovan Thomas murder. If they don't have that in the RICO, everything else falls. Because the statute of limitations on anything the defendants may or may not have done has run out. No, John, you're not 2 hours. I've only been at it for 55 minutes. Next concern, what may happen in the street? You know what we have talked about, what we can do as far as living and all of that. We had those conversations. So I'm trying to express to you that we do not want you locked up. I don't know how many times I've got to tell that to you, that I've got to say to you, we do not want you sitting in a decab or whenever they got you because of this. I know you wanted to talk to me on Friday before you walked into court. We weren't able to talk. If you still want to talk with or without Miss Bumpus, I'm here. She is trying to coerce Mr. Copeland to talk to the prosecution without attorney present. Jesus Christ. I'm here, but we don't want you in custody. We will not, this order, I don't know if you kept your copy of the order, but this order says you are immune from prosecution, any of it. There it is again. More or less, they don't care if he lies or not. Literally, Judge, you might want to close your ears. Oh. If you confess to a murder on the stand, if we don't have any other independent evidence outside of what you say on the stand, you are immune from prosecution from what you say in court. This is also the information and belief. Even if he confesses to murder, they will give him immunity even if he lies. There it is. So again, I don't know what was communicated to you on Friday. I have no idea. But what the state has assured you, which I have assured you in our private conversation with Miss Long, as I'm saying in front of Miss Bumpers, as I told you, that is what this order says, the court. And that is direct or cross-examination, Miss Hilton, and that is direct or cross-examination, the court. So if you're worried about the defendants may ask you because they may know your business, but if they ask you about things that you might think you might have some liability with, you can't be prosecuted for any of those. Mr. Copeland, I got family members watching this trial, and I don't want my nephew and them to hear the things that I may be involved in, and I think it's okay, Ms. Hilton. But I think that's a separate conversation you can have with them as an honest individual. Like, look, nephews, I don't live the life that I don't want you to live. Don't go through what I've been through. But that's something you can have outside of being in jail, because that's a better conversation you can have with your nephews in person. They shouldn't have to come to the DeKalb County Jail because you are being held in contempt. You can have that conversation with your nephews tomorrow in person. This is coercion with the judge present. You can have that conversation with everybody. You know what's coming up this weekend? Why are we in jail? What are we doing, Mr. Copeland? But y'all did this intentionally. Ms. Hilton, no, we did not. You and I had this conversation, Mr. Copeland, on Friday morning. Mr. Copeland, you knew my child's birthday was next week. Yeah, this is so planned out from the prosecution. His kid's birthday. Mr. Melnick being out of town. This is so planned out. Miss Hilton, but what did I tell you when we met with each other? I said to you, you asked me, what is the one thing that's going to get me in jail? Didn't you ask me that? And what was my response? If you plead the fifth. And that is exactly what you did on the stand, Mr. Copeland. But what did I tell you before I got to that point? I told you the whole time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Miss Hilton. But I told you we were going to give you immunity, Mr. Copeland, that I was pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton, no, you did not. Now Miss Hilton is a witness. This is information that was not shared with the defense. That makes Miss Hilton a witness too. Mr. Copeland, I told you every day I was pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton, no, you did not. And we told you, Mr. Copeland, I told you my concern, Miss Hilton. And we said we could give you immunity. You said your concern is what they know about you. And when you said that, I said, well, you know stuff about them. And then I said, whatever your concerns are, we can give you immunity. Mr. Copeland, so I didn't tell you I lied on them to get myself out of the situation. Miss Hilton, you said you were a liar. That's what you said. You said you were a liar. Miss Bumpers, was this recorded? Miss Hilton, no. Do not put illegal things in my chat. Yeet that motherfucker. Immediately. I could get in serious trouble with you posting fuck like that. Get out now. Don't don't you dare get my channel yeeted because you are assholes. I can get my own channel yeeted by being an asshole myself. But you do not have that. Fuck's sake. It's not that fucking hard to not be an ass. All right, let's get back to this. Miss Bumpers, was this recorded? Miss Hilton, no. Miss Bumpers, and did he ever say that Melnick was his attorney? Miss Hilton, no. This week, when we first met you in the car on Friday, we asked you, is Mr. Melnick your attorney? You said, he's not my attorney. I haven't even talked to him. Mr. Copeland, no. I never said he's not my attorney. I said I haven't talked to him. Miss Hilton, you said he's not your attorney. You haven't talked to him. Then we continued to have a conversation. At no point did you ever say to us, hey, I want Mr. Melnick here. Hey, put Mr. Melnick on the phone. Mr. Copeland, you didn't make me feel like I needed him. Yeah, this is coercion again. Miss Hilton, but if you needed him, we would have said, if you would have needed Mr. Melnick, we would have said to you, okay, just call him. Yeah, that is what she's saying here. We have no idea what she talked to him, what the conversation was, because her interviews with Mr. Copeland coincidentally wasn't recorded. So, I mean, that is our position. We don't want you in jail. We just want you to be able to purge yourself by testifying. Whatever your truth is, what your truth is, but you just got to answer the questions. We believe that whatever your truth is what your truth is. We know what you said before. I don't know what you're going to say on the stand, but what we know is pleading the fifth is going to keep you in custody. That's what I know. Now, how you answer your questions is how you answer your questions. I know what you said before, and I know what you said later. I mean, I know what you said before, and I don't know what you're going to say on the stand because you and I never went into full details about any of it. But what I don't want is you to be sitting here in custody. Jesus. This is information the defense should have had all along. The information the prosecution had denied the defense. Mr. Copeland, you did it. Miss Hilton, I did not do it. You did it by pleading the fifth. Mr. Copeland, you told me before you went to the judge with whatever the thing called, you went to him with, you told me that I can't. When I'm asked a question, I can say I don't recall or I don't know. Oh, this is Miss Hilton coaching this witness on what he can answer. This goes back to opening your own door. You can, in a criminal proceeding, the prosecution cannot, by asking questions, opening their own door to evidence that should not be allowed in. And he's already, he's already sworn in. You told me that if I plead the fifth, I mean something, why would I plead the fifth to something I ain't do? And I said that you don't know what I did and what I ain't do. And then you was something, and then you all asked for this immunity, and I was like, it was something. And then Thursday or Friday came, and then you all go tell me, oh, we went to the judge with this, so you got to testify. If you don't testify, the judge gonna lock you up. Ms. Hilton, right. But that was based upon what you, Mr. Copeland, but I told you all that. Ms. Hilton, no, you didn't. Mr. Copeland, you said, why would I plead the fifth to something I didn't do? And I said, you don't know what happened. And Ms. Hilton, and I said, I don't know what happened. Only you know and them know. I said, but you never said I'm pleading the fifth. You said, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? Mr. Copeland, I told you. I said I'm going to plead you said, why would you plead the fifth to something that you know you didn't do? Miss Bumpus. So if you didn't have immunity prior to, is that what you're saying? That you feel like he didn't have immunity prior to? Mr. Copeland, immunity came Friday right when I went to jail. Miss Hilton, the immunity only came after Mr. Melnick. Miss Bumpus, hold on. Ms. Hilton, the immunity came after Mr. Melnick sent us an email saying my client is pleading the 5th. That was on Thursday evening at 6. Ms. Bumpus, okay. Ms. Hilton, so after that, that was an emphatic, he is pleading the 5th. Ms. Bumpus, Ms. Hilton, we came and got this signed. Ms. Bumpus, and Ms. Hilton, and then Friday morning came. Ms. Bumpus, okay. Ms. Hilton, so between Friday evening, Mr. Melnick reached out to us and said he represents him. He's pleading the 5th. Ms. Bumpus, okay. And when was the last time you talked to him before Melnick got involved? Ms. Hilton, we talked to him earlier that day on Thursday. Ms. Bumpus, okay. And then how did, speaks inaudibly to Mr. Copeland. Mr. Copeland, he called me. Ms. Bumpus, okay, I was just trying to get a timeline. Ms. Hilton, sure, right. So we have been talking since last Friday. So I met with Mr. Copeland last Friday, I think out in the neighborhood. Then he came on Tuesday for court. We talked briefly on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday he came. Mr. Copeland, Thursday. Ms. Hilton, no, I think he only came 2 days. So it had to be Wednesday and Thursday he came. Phrasing. Hey, Jar. And then on Thursday, once we left, is when Mr. Melnick reached out to us and said, my client is pleading the 5th. And at that point is when we went to the next morning and got the immunity motion. And then we spoke on Friday morning. I handed Mr. Copeland this agreement and let him know that he has immunity and that anything he sends we can't use. And then Mr. Melnick came. Oh! See the timeline here? They knew he had representation, and they still went to him with the immunity without his lawyer present. They can't help themselves. They really can't help themselves. They know he had representation, and they still walked up to Mr. Copeland without his lawyer present and handed him the immunity agreement. You can't do that. Jesus Christ. And then Mr. Melnick came, and then we had court. Ms. Bumpus, so you're pretty much saying you didn't ask for this. Mr. Copeland, I didn't. Ms. Hilton, but we gave it. He doesn't have to ask for it. Ms. Bumpus, I know. I mean, he's just saying. Ms. Hilton, right. He doesn't have to ask for it. But to alleviate whatever his concerns were, we gave him immunity. He didn't have to ask for it. Ms. Bumpus, so if he wouldn't have had this, I'm just saying this so he can understand it. I'm walking him through. Ms. Hilton, Ms. Bumpus, would he still have to testify, or would he have been able to plead the 5th? That's what he's saying. Ms. Hilton, if he did not have immunity? Ms. Bumpus, yes. Ms. Hilton, yes, he could plead the 5th. Mr. Copeland, that's what I'm... Ms. Bumpus, that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say he didn't ask for this. Ms. Hilton, but he doesn't have to ask for it. Now that we have given it to him, because that's on us. So now that we have given it to him, it's an order. He can still choose. If this is the road he wants to take, then he'll just stay in custody until the trial is over, and then we will say the trial is over. Every last defendant has been tried, not just these 6, the other ones too. This isn't. Judge Glavely is there. He is present during all of this. He is listening in on all of this. When Ms. Hilton says not just these 6, the other ones too, which are the dozen others that are awaiting trial. So the judge listening in on this conversation is a witness to all of this. Mr. Copeland, I done did longer time. Ms. Hilton, all right, Mr. Copeland, I'm telling you that you are literally immune from prosecution from anything else you may say. That's that. So the choice is always up to you, but we wanted to put on the record the state does not want you in custody. You do not want this on the record because you try to hide this from the defense. This is what the state would like you to do is purge yourself from. Mr. Copeland, what purge yourself mean? Ms. Hilton, meaning that you are no longer in custody, and the way that you purge yourself is to testify. That is kind of how it happens. And that is what the state wants you to do. We don't want you in custody. I can't say that any other different way. But we don't want you in custody. The only thing that's holding you is you refusing to testify. The court. So do you have any questions? Any other question? Basically, if you invoke the 5th, Mr. Copeland, I don't trust. I don't know what's going on. I don't trust nobody. I trust her word, but I don't know what's going on, Your Honor. Miss Hilton, this is your insurance. I don't know if you want to break that down to him. Miss Bumpus, well, he doesn't want that. The court, but he's been giving it. See, that's the challenge, Mr. Copeland, is that if they didn't give you the immunity, you can invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. But what the state decided is they said your testimony is worth more to them at this point in time, and they really want to know what you have to say. So they have made from the state's perspective, they have made a decision to give you immunity so you no longer can invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. You have to testify. Still, I hate this. Still, I hate that this little piece of paper that says county state immunity annihilates the Fifth Amendment rights. I hate it. So that's the difference in this particular scenario, is that they have taken away, well, you can still invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege. You can still do that, but the consequence of invoking it is that you will just remain in custody. So if you testify, you get out of custody, and you stay out of custody until you are done. Mr. Copeland, and then if I don't testify, I have to stay in until then. Until the trial is over, until all the defendants have been. I've got these 6 that we have right now, and then there's another 6. Ms. Hilton, no, there's another 12. The court, there's another 12 or thereabouts that are still outstanding in various forms or another. This is so infuriating. This is the prosecution and the judge coercing him into testifying in the hopes that the defense will never know. Mr. Copeland, can I speak with her for a second? The court, yeah, sure. Glanville, Hilton, Weaver, and investigators left chambers 10:17 and returned at 10:33. Yeah, this is what the judge said. Oh, there might be privileged information in there. No, it isn't. They were at recess in this ex parte meeting. Once Miss Bumpus and Mr. Copeland is talking, nobody's around. So that's good, at least. My question is, can I ask you a question? The court, yes. So my question is, so what if I was just asking her, if you ask me a question and you feel as in I was lying about it, you will lock me back up? Ms. Hilton, no. So you are saying, you say, I didn't talk to Demican. Well, no, I can't talk about that because the judge is in here. You're asking, for example, if you said before that the sky is blue, and I asked you to understand what color is the sky, and you say, I said it was red. I'm going to say, no, back before you said it was blue. Is that what you're trying to ask me? Ms. Bumpus, So explain the independent evidence. If he says he did something and you know he's not telling the truth, what happens? If he said he did something and he did not do that thing, Ms. Bumpus, if you believe he did not, so if you believe that he's lying about that, Ms. Hilton, then no. If he admits of doing something on the stand, Ms. Bumpus, Ms. Hilton, and he did not do that thing, Ms. Bumpus, I'm going to say, is this the first time you're saying that? Ms. Bumpus, and you have independent evidence to prove it wasn't him, then what? Then nothing. What do you mean, like? So then he will be fine. Ms. Hilton, yes, but. Ms. Bumpus, so you are okay with him if he got on the stand and said things that weren't true? Ms. Hilton, no. I want him to tell the truth. What have I always said to you? I want you to tell the truth. I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. I expect you to tell the truth. If you say something that isn't inconsistent with what you said before, then I'm going to ask about the inconsistencies. But I expect you to tell the truth. What you go on the stand and do, I don't know. Don't know what you're going to do. I want you to tell the truth. But I will deal with you. You're saying something different in the manner that I normally do, Mr. Copeland. If I'm saying something different, right? So when the police question me, they don't question me every time they lock me up. I don't know how many times that was. I don't tell them whatever different story I could think of to try to finesse my way out of the situation. I don't recall what I'm done told them. Okay, so you can say, I don't recall. That's how that works. I don't recall. This is coaching on a high level. Ms. Bumpus, and he can say that to every single question. Miss Hilton, I would hope that is not the truth, because I think there are some things you do recall and some things you don't. But the things you don't recall, you don't recall. Yeah, and the prosecution still used this I don't recall and all of that to get other evidence in. They knew this. This is the tactical advantage Judge Glanville says the prosecution didn't have. Here it is. There it is. On paper. And then I will go through my process of what I do. You can talk to him about what impeachment is. That won't get you locked up. Impeachment will not get you locked up. You can talk to him about what impeachment is. If he says, I don't recall, Mr. Copeland, what will get me locked up? Ms. Hilton, what did I tell you? Mr. Copeland, I don't know. Ms. Hilton, what you did on Friday, I pleaded the 5th, if the court instructs you. So the only thing that gets me locked up is pleading the 5th. Ms. Bumpus, yes. Ms. Hilton, the court instructs you. You need to answer the question. You say again, I plead the 5th. Again, that's what's going to get you locked up. But if you answer the question, that will not get you locked up. Mr. Copeland, so if you don't want me in jail, why you just don't let me go after the trial is over with? Ms. Hilton, you're in jail because you're not answering the questions. The court, because you have been given immunity. Ms. Hilton, because you have been given immunity, you're only in jail because you got up here. Mr. Copeland, well, what about this? I answer the questions. You take away immunity. I answer the questions, and I plead the 5th. Ms. Hilton, no. Mr. Copeland, to question that I feel incriminate me. Ms. Hilton, but then that's, Mr. Copeland, I will plead the 5th, the things that don't incriminate me. The court, the state can still give you immunity. They can give immunity to whoever they want, okay? And they can make that choice. I don't even make that choice. So if they, like I said earlier, they want your testimony, they figure it's that the jury needs to hear what you have to say, good, bad, or indifferent. And what Ms. Hilton is telling you is just tell the truth as you know it and let her worry about. I mean, even though you may have said different versions or whatever, that's for impeachment. That's not going to get you in trouble. This is the information and belief they are giving him immunity to lie. Because he already said that, Mr. Copeland. The judge knows it. The prosecution knows it. And they still went through. What will get you in trouble is you not just invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege because you have been given immunity. Or as Ms. Love said this morning, remember, Ms. Love said, if you lie, if you overtly lie about something, like if you tell a bold-faced whopper, then they can indict you on that particular charge. I mean, that particular false statement. Mr. Copeland, that's what they're going to do. Ms. Bumpus, that is what I'm saying. You will be right back here. Ms. Hilton, but if you say something that you know you did not do, like you admit to something you know you did not do, whether you, Mr. Copeland, like murder don't have, like no statute of limitations, right? Now we're getting into what if I confess to murder? Ms. Hilton, but if you didn't do that, I can't charge you with something you didn't do because I don't have any other evidence but you saying it. Mr. Copeland, but y'all don't like Ms. Bumpus. You can charge him with false statements and he will be back in jail. That's what I'm trying to say. Ms. Hilton, but if I know that you're lying about that, I do not intend to do that. If I know right now he's lying, I know he's lying, I'm not going to charge you because I don't know your reason for doing that. Boom! She's giving Mr. Copeland immunity to lie under oath. But I'm not going to charge you when I know you didn't do what you're trying to say you did not. And that can be a part of this. I know you didn't do it, Mr. Copeland, but it's up to the judge to do that. Ms. Hilton, no, it's up to the state to bring charges. The court, I don't have anything to do with that. Ms. Hilton, he has nothing to do with bringing charges. That's up to the state of Georgia. Mr. Copeland, can I talk to my family and I will make my decision right after I hang up the phone? Ms. Bumpus, he's saying he hasn't been able to speak to anybody. Ms. Hilton, his sister just called us. Mr. Copeland, y'all done me wrong. Y'all just hold me in the jail. Don't get me no PIN number, no nothing. Ms. Hilton, we have no knowledge. We didn't know that you... Miss Bumpers, he hasn't been able to do anything, speak to anyone. Yeah, Mr. Copeland apparently was held in jail over the weekend without being able to communicate with anybody. This is Mr. Copeland, the jail system down, but you're still putting people in. Miss Hilton, that part I don't know. I know we have been in communication with your sister. Your sister actually texted Miss Lancy Koch to make sure you were okay. We told her we physically had laid eyes on you. I leave that up to the sheriffs. I don't know. Brief pause. Mr. Copeland, so what do you think what you're saying? Miss Hilton, I can tell you right now, Mr. Copeland, I'm talking about that locking me back up. Miss Hilton, we would have to bring charges. There will be no incentive. Mr. Copeland, you all will. Miss Hilton, we already had this discussion. Mr. Copeland, look what you did to me. You waited until Friday and did this. I don't told you every day before Friday came that I was pleading the fifth. Miss Hilton, no, you did not. As a matter of fact, our last... Here she is again. Being a witness. She's a witness in this trial now. She's inserting herself as a witness. This is so stupid. They knew he was pleading fifth and they still put him on the stand. Now, they did that thing with the bogus immunity, which is stupid. The court. Mr. Copeland, let's see if you can get beyond this. Okay, beyond what your concern is, you could have invoked the Fifth Amendment privilege. The state could have turned around and said, stop, had me go ahead and file that motion and given you immunity. It was going to, they make that decision. They decided to make it on Friday. So even if you have been more comfortable testifying and voting your Fifth Amendment privilege, they could decide you, as a witness, they want your testimony more than they do you invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege, so they give you immunity. They gave you immunity, so you got to testify truthfully as to what your knowledge of the particular incident is. So they could have done that anyway. Even if they put you on the stand, they could have said stop and gone ahead and given you immunity. They could have done that. Mr. Copeland, so can I get in some type of writing that if I was to testify that if she feels I is lied about anything, that they won't lock me back up? The court, let me have that, Miss Bumpers. Miss Bumpers hands documents to court. Brief pause. The court, Mr. Copeland, on page 2 of the order pursuant to OCGA, blah, blah, blah. However, no testimony given by Kenneth Copeland as required under this order or any information directly or indirectly derived from the testimony of Kenneth Copeland given by Kenneth Copeland as required under this order shall be used against said Kenneth Copeland in any proceeding or prosecution for a crime or offense concerning which he testify under this order. Okay, so you testify in some aggravated assault or murder. They can prosecute you on it because that is what it says on the order. Okay, the only thing that will get you in trouble is this next little paragraph. Kenneth Copeland shall be subject to prosecution or to penalty of forfeiture for any perjury, false swearing, or contempt committed in testifying or failing to testify in accordance with this order. However, it is ordered that Kenneth Copeland shall not be required to produce evidence that can be used in any other court in the States, the United States, or any other states. I don't think they can add this unless the U.S. Justice Department has signed off on this. They can't give immunity for the entire United States. I need to see that paper. I need to see if this is something the U.S. Department of Justice have agreed to. They are state representation. They are state rep, not. They are not fed. They are not feds. So basically, if you commit perjury, false swearing, or contempt committed in testifying, that means if you invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege or failing to testify, you say, I'm not going to testify. All right. So the only two real things you can get in trouble for are perjury and false swearing as long as you tell the truth. Now, as Ms. Hilton and Ms. Bumper said earlier, you may have told or been asked about situation over and over again. They may have changed. What the state is asking you to do is tell the version that really is the truth. If they want to impeach you, they can do that. Or if the other side wants to impeach you, they can do that. You won't get in trouble for that. Mr. Copeland, you said I will. The court, you will not, you will not. Impeachment is not perjury or false swearing, okay? Mr. Copeland, she said I can purge myself, though. Ms. Hilton, no. We're saying two different things. Sorry. Perjury is if you get on the stand and you said just a bold-faced lie. Just something that is just wrong. Say you say, I did something, and all the other times you have said, I have not done it. And really, while it's perjury, it's really just an inconsistent statement. Now, this goes to immunity for lying on the stand. Like if you said, get on the stand and said, I did X, but in 2015 you said, I never did X. That is what I'm going to impeach. I'm going to impeach on everything you said in 2015, meaning I'm going to say, okay, today you said I did X, but in 2015, Lieutenant Dean entered chambers. Lieutenant Dean, we have a security issue. We need to stop for a minute. If we can stop for a second, please. Okay. George Glenville and Lieutenant Dean exited chambers at 10:45. George Glenville returned to chambers at 10:47 a.m. What was that security issue? Yeah. Miss Hilton, I don't know what was told to you on Friday. I have no reason to want you in prison. You have spent enough time in prison for YSL, period. So why would they want that for you? That doesn't make sense. Now we are going into... Now she is involving the YSL. This single line here makes it overly obvious that the defense should have been there for this. So why would I want that for you? That doesn't make sense. I said it to you before, and I will say it to you again in front of all these people. It makes no sense. Mr. Copeland, you just said I'm going to have to stay in jail until the last. Ms. Hilton, if you don't testify, get this part through your head. If you don't testify, that is the only thing that is holding you. That's literally the only thing holding you right now is the fact you keep saying, I'm not going to testify. Well, you haven't said it today. I'm not testifying, I plead the fifth. If you get up there and I want you to tell the truth, like I said before. If you don't recall certain things, you can say you don't recall. That's fine. I want you to tell the truth. I don't expect you to remember every single detail from 2050. I just don't. No one here does. This goes back to what Mr. Steele said. They had the option of having Mr. Copeland reviewing all these videos to refresh him before his testimony. But they are interested in opening their own door to other parts of evidence. And the judge is sitting right there listening to this. Oh, sorry, Short said that. And the judge is sitting there. He's listening to this. He's a witness to this. And he does nothing. He helps the prosecution do this. But what I do expect for you to do is answer questions so we can get through this, so you can go home, be with your baby for a birthday, see these dogs deliver their babies, go talk to your nephews, and do all the other things. Mr. Copeland, how do you know about my dogs? Miss Hilton, because you told me. Mr. Copeland, okay. Miss Bumpers, what's wrong? Mr. Copeland, I'm stressing at another level, like Miss Bumpers. I mean, I'm saying, Mr. Copeland, I'm weak. Man, I'm not playing. I'm dead serious. Man, like... Miss Hilton, this is what our position is. We do not want him in custody. We don't want him to tell the truth. We want him to testify. That's what will get him out of jail. And, you have to make... Miss Bumpers, if he decides in 2 weeks he wants to testify, then what? Miss Hilton, if he wants to stay in jail for 2 weeks, then I don't know why you would want to stay in jail for 2 weeks. I have no idea. Miss Bumpers, he just feels like he's under a lot of pressure right this second. Mr. Copeland, even at the jail, they are just, you can't give me house arrest. Miss Hilton, no, you can go home by taking the stand and testifying. That's what the court, and come back tomorrow. Miss Hilton, we keep on saying yet, but there's no crime. We keep on saying yet. I don't know who's telling you about a crime. There's no crime. You have done nothing wrong except for not. So Mr. Copeland, so why am I in jail then? Miss Hilton, because you aren't testifying. Mr. Copeland, that ain't nothing wrong. It's not a crime. Miss Hilton, it's not a crime, but you're in civil contempt. The court, two things, because you invoked your privilege after you've been given immunity. That is why you're in custody, because you get out by testifying. So you testify, you get out. That is why I was going to bring you, why I brought you here earlier today, to just inquire about that. You can remain and hold your position on invoking the fifth or not testifying, but you go back to prison. You go back to jail because that's Mr. Copeland. You can't sentence me, Miss Bumpus. There's no sentence. The court, there's no sentence. The contempt is compliance. They want your testimony. That's all they want, whatever that may be. Mr. Copeland, I don't know what it is, Your Honor. Miss Hilton, so listen, you're in jail for failing to testify. The court, failing to testify. Miss Hilton, not for anything else. There's no crime. You ain't done nothing. I don't know if people are telling you that we are going to charge you with nothing. We are not charging you. The state charges you. There is nothing we're charging you with. You're only in custody because you have decided not to testify. That is it. Once you decide to testify, the court, remember that word you were talking about? Purge? Mr. Copeland, The court, okay, you can purge right now. Purge, get yourself out of jail just by testifying. Mr. Copeland, I can purge and get out of jail? The court, yes, by just testifying. Miss Hilton, not perjury. The court, purge, meaning you can get out of jail. You can get out of jail, out of custody by just testifying. Mr. Copeland, and what about the other one? The other word, perjury. The court, that's different. Miss Hilton, that's different. The court, that's a different word, okay. Mr. Copeland, that can get me back in jail. Miss Hilton, yes. The court, perjury is, Miss Hilton, it's not, what you are saying is not perjury. What you are saying is what we call a prior inconsistent statement. This is Miss Hilton trying to spin the things. We don't care what you say on the stand. We just want this other piece of evidence in. You can lie as much as you want. We will just call it inconsistent statement, and then we won't be able to charge you. Your example that you gave me, that if I said I did something and I know you didn't do it, and you said before you didn't do it, that's not perjury, that is a prior inconsistent statement. Brief pause. Miss Bumpus, you got to make a decision. So if he starts testifying today, he's going to go home today. Miss Hilton, he should as long as he remains. But if you get up there and be like, if you get to testifying and then we get into it and you start saying I plead the fifth, we're going to be back here again. Miss Bumpus. But what if he says he don't recall to everything? He'll be okay. Miss Hilton, I'm not advising that. But so long as he answers the questions, that's fine. So long as he, Mr. Copeland, I did these crimes. I'm telling you that. Miss Hilton, okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but Miss Bumpus, I think, are you saying you want to get up there on the stand and say something? Mr. Copeland, no response. Miss Bumpus, did we find out if he could talk to his family? No? Brief pause. I mean, if it's okay, we got the sister's numbers. Mr. Copeland, as my attorney, you gotta... Miss Hilton, if you all want to talk, let me go somewhere where I can't hear you. The judge is over there, so just speak low so he doesn't hear you. The court, hold on. Judge Glenville handed the document to Attorney Kayla Bumpus and exited the chambers with ADA Hilton, Long, Hamilton, Weaver from 10:53 to 11:28. The court, all right, Mr. Copeland, have you had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Bumpus, your lawyer, and Ms. Hilton, the state's counsel? Have you got any other questions? Mr. Copeland, no, Your Honor. The court, is it your desire to give testimony today? Mr. Copeland, yes, sir. The court, okay, all right then. Do you all have some clothes for him? Ms. Hilton, I don't know. Let me go take a look. What size are you? Mr. Copeland, I can't hear you. Ms. Hilton, what size are you? Mr. Copeland, little. Investigator Hamilton, we had a large jacket for him on Friday. Large. Ms. Hilton, you had a jacket for him? Hamilton, yeah. Hilton, oh, but he can't wear a large. The court, what is the waist size? 34? Mr. Copeland, 32. Chest, what are you? 34, 36 chest. Miss Hilton, probably 36. Mr. Copeland, not in my chest. What do you mean? The court, size. Miss Hilton, what size are you? Small or medium? Mr. Copeland, small or medium? The court, they're going to try to get you some clothes so you don't have to testify wearing that jail uniform, okay? Mr. Copeland, y'all don't want to show the people how y'all did me? The court, look. Miss Hilton, if we can't find clothes, then you may have to until tomorrow. Mr. Copeland, I prefer to go in like this. Miss Hilton, I understand what your preference is. Mr. Copeland, nah, don't hide it. Miss Bumpers, can you make him put on clothes? Miss Hilton, no. Mr. Copeland, I want to go in there like this. Miss Hilton, fine with me. The court, all right, okay. Mr. Copeland, you ain't going to try to lock me back up for this. Miss Hilton, so long as you testify, we will get an order to get you released. Miss Bumpers, today, the court, whose copy is this? Miss Hilton, you got to make sure you come back now. I want to be real clear. Mr. Copeland, when have I ever ran? Miss Hilton, you have not. That's the only thing you have not. The court, whose copy is this? Miss Hilton, that was ours. Do you want a copy? You can take it though. Miss Bumpers, okay. Miss Hilton, do you still have yours or you threw it away? Miss Bumpers, I'm going to give him both of these things so he can have some information. Miss Hilton, okay. The court reporter, are we off the record now? The court, are we done? Miss Bumpers, yes, I believe so. The court, okay, we're good. See everybody downstairs in about 10 minutes. The proceedings concluded at 11:31 a.m. Certificate of Authentication, Christina Weaver. Whew. So what did we learn? Well, we learned that Miss Love is still a liar. We learned that Miss Hilton had numerous undisclosed meetings with Mr. Copeland without lawyer present. We know that they actively hid this, not just the ex parte meeting, but the meetings with Mr. Copeland before he went on the stand. Things that should have been disclosed all along. We know that the immunity they gave him, they claim it's for federal crimes as well, which I believe is a lie. This is a state court. Unless the U.S. Department of Justice is involved, they can't give federal immunity in a state court. They simply can't. We also know that although it wasn't said out loud, they did give him immunity to lie. In certain passages, there were reference to if he confesses to murder, and he still have immunity. We know that they won't prosecute him for perjury because they will call it prior inconsistent statement. That is to get around the perjury. They are giving him immunity to lie on the stand. And all this is for the prosecution to open their own door, which this is basic law. You cannot open your own door to new evidence. The judge knew it. He was in there. He's a witness to all of this. Miss Hilton was in there, referencing conversations she had with Copeland, which makes her a witness. Miss Love, well, we know she is a prostitution. Yeah, we know she's evil. We know she lies all the time. She lies more than Mr. Copeland does. So that is what we found out in this. And in my opinion, this should render Judge Glanville should be yeeted from this case and from his position as a judge. This tells me the way they casually went through all of this tells me they have done this numerous times before. Ex parte meetings with witnesses without telling the defense. The question is no longer if they did wrong here, it is how many times they have done it throughout the years. Okay, that was the ex parte meeting transcript. And as I said in the start, I'm reading this with the knowledge of Judge Glanville trying to save himself. We don't know what's been taken out. We don't know. And MG Law,
Hey.
you joined just as I finished.
Of course, I just got everybody to bed, so I was like,
oh, what a crap show.
I'm going to be reading it tonight. I'm going to read through it tonight on my stream. So
yeah, okay, then I will. Have you had that stream set up?
Yeah, it starts in about 45 minutes or so.
Okay, then I will redirect, because people deserve not to just have my interpretation. They need several people's interpretation of
I have a feeling that a lot of the attorneys on YouTube who are looking at this will have a lot of the same impressions.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there are similar opinions about this, but oh, what a crap show. I mean, there are so many opportunities in the entire transcript where the judge he should have said, folks, this is outside of any exception. We need to talk to the defense about this. But no, we know that he actively tried to keep this a secret, stealing this transcript until after the trial was done.
And then he was going to redact it on top of that.
Yeah. And I don't trust him.
At all. I've read this. I don't know that this is a transcript of the entire meeting, because if you go back and watch the June 10th, back and forth with Steele, he says there was a court reporter for part of it, a recording for part of it as well. So it tells me that there may be parts where there's neither a court reporter or a audio recording.
Yeah, we do see on certain times that there are breaks, that there are pauses, that Christina Weaver, the court reporter, which she has inserted, and I'm really interested what happened during those. And in nowhere in here there's a justification for Judge Glanville to keep this a secret. Nowhere.
No. Oh, but it's privileged.
And it's just I mean, he can claim that he came to realization now after 3 weeks that, I was wrong. No, he lied in open court.
He knew. They hit it for 2.5 hours that day.
Yeah.
Both the prosecutor and the judge did that meeting.
And I mean, I read through all of this. I read through in an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
All of it with commentary.
Yeah.
This was a 2.5-hour meeting. There are stuff missing in here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Swinton, he read the Georgia Supreme Court ruling. That's
he did.
Their denial, where they point out this
has to go to another judge.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he couldn't justify it anymore when the Georgia Supreme Court. And I believe whatever the decision I don't think this can be held in Fulton County.
Oh, I don't think. No, I think the recusal portion of this is going to have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I hope it's Cobb County, because the district attorney there really don't like Miss Willis. She wanted to testify against Miss Willis in the disqualification hearing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping for Cobb County, which is a neighboring county.
Yeah, it's right next door. Yep.
Yeah. And now, it doesn't specifically say that he did do the ending of Donovan Thomas, but it indicates that he kind of wanted on the stand assert that he committed a murder.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he still would have gotten. And here, one part of this, according to Miss Hilton and the judge, this immunity deal is for federal crimes as well.
Yeah.
You can't do that on the state level unless the U.S. Department of Justice is involved.
No, I think there's case law on that basically that they would be precluded from using anything from this in order to go after him for federal crimes.
Okay, I didn't know that because I've been searching for it and I really can't find.
Yeah, I remember seeing something, and I don't know if it was one of the other law tubers or if it was on like Twitter. There was somebody who actually posted the case and went through the case law on it, and that basically it does preclude the feds from coming in and using this testimony to then go after him, and they could go after him if they have independent basis.
Yeah.
So they can't use his testimony against him. But if they have some third-party witness or something to it, then they could still go after him for it. They just can't use his testimony against him.
Yeah, and it was interesting when they went through the statute of limitations because the crimes that he is supposed to testify is 2014, 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
and the statute of limitations has run out.
Oh yeah.
And my immediate, well, if the feds decides to charge him with murder, then all other statute of limitations, if they charge him under the federal RICO, then everything gets in due to
that's kind of how they did it.
Statute of limitation of murder is indefinite.
Yeah, well, that's cool to what they did here too.
Yeah,
they used the murder for the basis to tie all of this in.
Yeah, and this is why I believe Mr. Copeland is so important, that they went through all of this trouble, contacting him without his attorney, because they contacted him long before this. And the last time they had contact with Mr. Copeland, he had representation. Yes. As far as they knew, he still had representation. And they still went to Mr. Copeland directly. And then he said he didn't have a lawyer. But they didn't know that. They have to go to his latest representation to check first. They chose not to.
Yeah.
Which makes them all witnesses.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you are going to have a ball with this. You are going to have a ball.
If you want a link, I will send it to you, but now you're probably going to be headed to work here soon. So.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, I will be headed to. My morning alarm bell goes off in half an hour. I was waking
there.
By somebody sent me the link to this on DM.
Yeah.
And then my phone started blowing up. All right, I'm up, and I set it up, and here we are.
Yeah, I was going to read through. You saw Steele filed a new thing this afternoon.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was going to go through that until I saw that the transcript was released.
Yeah,
and saw
but Mr. Steele's thing is that's kind of he's going for the throat now. He sends blood. He senses blood. He's going for the throat now.
He should.
Yeah, and
that's what I was going to read through it, and then the transcripts come out. So
yeah. Thank you, Donna, for the gifted membership. I saw I got a super chat. For some reason, it wasn't. Oh, there. It's a super sticker. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't have the full 114 pages of what Steele filed. Yeah,
but I think 80 of those are...
a lot of it's case law and transcripts. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I've been, I follow, or at least I'm not following him in the Thugger Daily on Twitter.
Yeah.
Post all these updates. That's what he's got it posted. So,
yeah. Now, Escobar Rizé asked, and I saw this, can they both be disbarred for this, in my opinion? And Miss Hilton and Miss Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody involved on the prosecution side and the judge are risking disbarment for this.
Yeah.
Because it's so blatantly coercion for a witness to testify, because he's this important. Because if the Donovan Thomas murder charge falls, the entire RICO case falls.
Everything falls.
Yeah.
Now, Tay Black saying Miss Bumpus was on stream today and said she didn't recall Woody saying he unalived during the ex parte.
No, yeah, and it's not in the transcript.
Which makes you wonder if they...
No, but here's the thing on information and belief, because they got that
Yeah.
tells me Miss Bumpus isn't the one who gave the information. Somebody else
No.
did.
Yeah.
And
Well, she
but
probably updated Melnick, and Melnick
Yeah.
is the one that probably reached out to Steele,
yeah,
wondering
Might
what
be
the
so.
hell's going on with his client in Chambers.
yeah. But you can see in the transcript, you can see him more or less going, well, what if I admit to this? What if I do this? And yeah, you get immunity. But the specific thing about Donovan Thomas is not in there. So that's secondhand information. But then again, we don't know what's gone from this transcript. Because at
We know
points,
there's stuff missing. We know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is just what the court. This is only what the court reporter transcribed while they were on the record in Chambers.
Yeah. And
'Cause they could have had off the record discussions that were still relevant to what happened on the record.
Yeah, just reading through this with all with my commentary and everything, there's a good 45 minutes missing.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But I need to get myself some breakfast.
Yes,
I will be sending everybody over to your place so they can hear your opinion about this. So
and I'm going to go hang out with Expert and Shizzy for a few minutes before I start my stream. So I got links from both of you tonight, and I was sitting here. I was like, okay, who do I go to?
Yeah, say hi to Expert and Shizzy for me. But now I need to go to work and
stay awake
and try to get a whole bunch of people to keep their jobs.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. Thank you for showing up and
thanks for inviting me.
And thank you to the people out there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you so much. And I will send you all off with, let's see here. Oh, a song called Yeet the Judge.
Gavel cracks, breaking backs, twist the facts, yeah. Rotten core, buried deep, justice cheap, hell. Crooked smile, snake and trial, deception, vile man. Power trip, crooked grip, lose your grip now. Symbol of greed, fall from the steed. No more lies, mask, disguise, greed ain't no creed. Yea, the judge, from the bench today. No more lies, corrupt decay. Yea, the judge, watch him sway. Truth will rise, make him pay. Yea, the judge, from the bench today. No more lies, corrupt decay. Yea, the judge, watch him